Okay, now we're going to grab our measuring tape so that we can measure and figure out how long our border needs to be. We know that my skirt is about 36.5 inches all the way around. Okay, now I'm just going to grab my other skirt just so that you guys can see how the border looks. My light went out here. Okay, we're back. So I just wanted to show you how the border looks. It also has that ribbon of the single crochet stitches when attached. But this is what your border will look like. We're going to be doing single crochets all the way across to create this look. So let's get started. I'm going to be doing a horizontal border, but I'm also going to give you the option of doing a vertical one. So to do that, just create a slip knot, insert your hook into that loop, and chain up 5. Once you do that, you're going to insert your first single crochet in that second chain from the hook. And you'll continue to do single crochets all the way down. And then you'll chain 1, turn your work, and continue to do single crochets all the way down. You'll have 4 single crochets in total. I did do maybe, I think, 2 more rows to show you just how you'll continue doing this. This is actually easier because you're able to frog it if it's too big or too small. Whereas though the horizontal border, that's like, you got to make sure your measurements are correct so that it's exactly where you need it to be. But you'll continue to do the single chain 1, turn your work, single crochets all the way down until you reach the measurement of your waist. So for me, if I was doing the vertical border, I would do it up until 36.5 inches. Jumping back to the horizontal border, we're going to create a slip knot, and then we're going to chain up as many as you need so that when stretched, it measures out to be your measurement of the widest part of your hips or the measurement for your skirt overall. So if you remember, my skirt measured out to be 36.5 inches. So I'm going to create a chain that when stretched measures out to 36.5 inches. Okay. So once you have that, you can test it as you go along, grabbing a measuring tape and just stretching it to see where you are periodically. And once you have that, I'll meet you back here so we can start the first row for our border. So it's measuring out to be about 34, it looks like. So I'm just going to add a few more chains so that it measures out to be 36.5. Okay, so we're testing it out again. And now I think I'm going to make it to 36.5 here. Yep, I'm right on track. So now we're going to begin our first row by chaining up 1 more additional chain. And then we're going to go in the second chain from the hook and create a single crochet. And you'll continue to chain single crochets down this row. If you want to fast forward, it'll just be chain 1, turn your work, and continue the same pattern, single crochets for 3 rows total. But I will meet you at the end of this row to show you exactly what I mean. Okay, so I went ahead and finished row 1. This is what it should look like. I'm then going to take my measuring tape and just make sure before I continue that it is exactly where I need it to be, which is 36.5 inches when stretched. So let's see. Okay, we at 37, which ain't bad. That's exactly where we want to be. It's okay if it's a little extra, y'all. So now I'm just going to show you exactly what I meant previously. We're going to insert our hook, chain 1, turn our work, and we're going to be working single crochets in each stitch. We're not going to be working in the back loops only. We're going to be working directly under both loops. It almost looks like a V or a U, whichever you prefer. You're just going to continue working single crochets all the way down this row, and then you're going to do the same thing 1 more time for row 3. y'all don't need me for the rest of that because y'all got it. I trust y'all. So I'll see y'all after I completed row 3. Okay, and this is what your border should look like. Now we're just going to take our scissors and we're going to cut our yarn. And then we're going to insert our hook back into that loop and chain 1 and pull that yarn through, tugging on it tightly. Now we're going to be attaching our border to our skirt, but first things first, make sure that you flip your skirt inside out if you want the ribbon to be on the outside of the skirt, okay? So once you have your border aligned at the top, you're then going to start to attach it. So I'm going to be placing mine right where the vertical and horizontal space meets. Then I'm going to take my stitch marker. I'm sorry, y'all, I was blocking the view. But I'm going to place my stitch marker in between my border and my skirt, like shown. Okay? Now I'm just going to go around the skirt, placing my stitch marker into the border and into the skirt around the entirety of the skirt. Okay, so just go around placing stitch markers throughout. They don't have to be close, but if you need them to be, there's nothing wrong with that. Just make sure that you're stretching your border as you go along, making sure it aligns around the entire top. And once you have that, I'll meet you back here so that we can start to crochet it on. I made it back to where I started, and it may look like it's overlapping, but don't worry about it. As you continue to attach the border along the skirt, it'll start to shrink, and we'll just be able to sew them together once we get to the end. So now I'm just going to start to attach it. So I'm going to remove that first stitch marker, place my hook in the border and the skirt, and then I'm going to grab my yarn and create a slip knot and reattach that to the hook. Then I'm going to make sure that's nice and tightly secure and snug and pull that loop through both the border and the skirt and chain 1. Okay, now I'm just going to go through both the border and the skirt and create single crochet stitches. Okay, there's no perfect way to do this. I'll zoom in for you. It doesn't have to be directly next to each other. Just make sure that you're just attaching it and stretching it as you're going along with those single crochets, okay? Continue to do this all the way around, and I will meet y'all at the very end so that we can sew it up. Okay, so this is what it should look like. It looks a little crazy right now, y'all, but trust the process. And we're just going to connect the two from where we started and where we ended. Mine was kind of overlapping, so I'm just going to sew it together so that it creates a seam that's seamless, okay? Okay, so now I'm going to insert my hook back where I ended just so that I can cut my tail. So I'm going to insert my hook into another stitch, pull up a loop, wrap around, pull through 2. And then to make it extra secure, I'm going to chain 1, pull that loop through. And here you'll just cut the tail long enough to, similar to what I have here, because this is what we're going to use to reattach both ends, okay? So make sure that it's long enough to do that. Now you're going to grab your tapestry needle, insert your yarn into that, the same yarn that you just cut, your very long tail. And then we're just going to go back and forth connecting both of these, okay? Both of where you started and where you ended. So I'm just going to go through the back loop, going through both sides and pulling that loop through. And I'm going to do the same on the opposite side, going through both sides, pulling that tapestry needle right through so that we're able to connect both parts. And you'll just continue to go back and forth through both parts until it's connected. Just as I'm doing here, I started at the bottom and just worked my way up to the top, making sure that it's all the way closed. Okay, and now I'm just doing extra stuff, just taking my tapestry needle and pulling it just through one side a few more times before I create the knot. This is completely optional. I just wanted to make sure it was secure, I guess. So, and this is still the inside of the skirt, so no one will see this part, but I'm just taking it right before I do my knot. And to do your knot, you're just going to place your tapestry needle in any stitch where you ended off. And then you're going to not pull it all the way through, slightly through, then pull your tapestry needle through that loop and pull tightly. And once that is pulled all the way through, we're now going to grab our scissors and cut our yarn. You can cut it as long or short as you want. If you want to possibly hide that tail, that's perfectly fine. But I did decide to cut mine pretty short because I felt it was secure. Okay, now flip that baby inside out, honey, so we can start working on the front and working on our drawstring because we are almost done. Y'all, that bottom part of the vertical side of the skirt is not straight, so we're about to handle that. We're going to flip our skirt upside down, and we're just going to do a few single crochets across that bottom so that it is neat and right, okay? So insert your hook back into that part where the vertical and horizontal part meet. Create a slip knot. Then you're going to reattach that slip knot to your hook. Then you're going to pull that loop through the skirt, chain one. And I'm just hiding my tail as I'm doing this, hiding one of them. I'm going to just be doing single crochets across the bottom of the vertical side. No order, no particular way. I'm just going in every stitch that I can, making sure that I'm putting single crochet stitches across the bottom. And you'll continue to do this until you reach the other side of where the horizontal and vertical panels meet. And then I will show you how we're going to fasten off. Okay, y'all, so now I'm coming up at the end and I'm just putting my last few single crochets across, and that very last stitch where the horizontal and vertical panel meet, I'm going to be doing a slip stitch, and I zoomed in for you, okay? And that's how we'll end it. We're just going to cut our yarn. Then we're going to chain one like usual, and we're just going to pull that securely and tightly, y'all. And there we have it. That's the bottom. That looks so much better, y'all, right? It looks so much better. So now we're going to do our drawstring for the top, hide our tails, and we are off. We are off, y'all. That color I just start running out of red, so I had to start using a different color red. Don't mind me. Always run out of yarn. But let's get started on our drawstring. Okay, y'all, so I went ahead and just did my slip knot off camera. And this is where it gets customizable. Again, I did a chain of 185. I would recommend that you stay within that 180 to maybe like 200 range, depending on how long or short you want your drawstring. But feel free to do as many as you like. Just make sure that it's long enough to go around the entirety of your waist with room, okay? Make sure that once you put the drawstring around your actual waist, there's still chains left over, okay? So once you have as many as you need, I'll meet you back here so that we can weave it on in. Once you get to your last chain, you're just going to cut your yarn and pull that yarn all the way through that chain. Okay, so now that we're all finished with our drawstring, this is what mine looks like. We're now going to weave it in. So get your tapestry needle. Okay, now you're just going to take the end piece of your drawstring and you're going to pull that through your tapestry needle. It won't go all the way through because of the chain stitches, but just make sure that you have a good grip on it. That way it's able to weave in the top. Okay. So once you have that pulled in, I'm just going to start from where we connected both parts of our border. and I'm going to pull my tapestry needle and my drawstring, pulling those both out. Might be a little tough at first, but just go ahead and give it a good pull and it'll come right through. And now I'm just going to go in a back and forth motion. My tapestry needle keeps coming out. Make sure as you're doing this, to avoid what's happening to me, make sure that you're just holding on to that little piece of yarn tail at the end as you're going along to avoid this. But you're just going to go back and forth or back. So I'm going now through the back, and then I'm going to go through the front just a couple stitches down. Okay, and I'm going to do the same thing again, a couple stitches down, going through the back. And then a couple stitches down, I'm going to go through the front. And as it starts to get a little shorter, you'll just pull that yarn right through. So I'm going through the back, and then it got a little short. So I'm just going to take and pull the yarn so that I have more to work with, okay? Then I'm going right back through the front, and I lost my yarn again. But once I reattach my drawstring to my tapestry needle, I'm just going to continue the same thing around until I end up where I started. So go ahead and continue to weave in your drawstring, going back and front, skipping certain stitches in between, and I will meet you at the end. All right, y'all, I'm coming up on that last weave in, coming through the back. Okay, and this is what it looks like, and you're able to adjust it as you wish. I'm just showing you what happens when I pull on it, because this is what will happen once you put it on and tie it around your own waist. And I'm just going to go and hide my tails off screen, but y'all, this is the final piece. Congratulations on finishing parts 1 and 2 to your 2-panel skirt. As always, I want to thank y'all so much for watching. Thank y'all for sticking with me on this journey. We got so much more to come. Like, comment, subscribe. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to comment down below or shoot me an email. I'll see y'all in our next tutorial. Be safe.